what is the distinction? So, what are the distinctions? Is it 7 and 13, or is there more?
So this is to say it on a very basic level. 7 is liquidation. 13 is a repayment plan. And basically, this is the way it works in a 7, just a very basic level. Let's say you have that. Let's say you bought a brand new BMW. It's all paid off, and then you have $50,000 in credit card debt, right? If you file a bankruptcy in that situation, the bankruptcy trustee, the individual that administers the case, which is another attorney, and they're very scrupulous. And what they're going to do, they're going to take that BMW, sell it to pay off all your creditors, right? Whereas at Chapter 13, you'll say, hey, I have all this debt and I want to pay it back. I have a decent job, I have a good job, I just fell behind. Let me pay back my arrears, or the past due balance. Let me pay it back over a course of 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
But it also matters like whether you owe any money on that BMW. If you just bought this BMW and you didn't buy it for cash, but you still owe 50 grand on that BMW, then nothing is gonna happen to it, because you owe 50 grand on it, plus you have 50K in credit cards. You'll keep it just because you already owe on it.
Okay. And when you do something like Chapter 13 payment plan, are you getting like a discount on it? Are you getting like a group rate, like a you know what I mean, like a consolidation rate? Like, how does that work?
It's all right. So basically, the way it works for arrears, right? So like the past due amount, you basically take the arrears and you slice it up over generally 60 months, right? And depending on what type of debt it is, you don't pay interest on it. So let's say if it's a mortgage, you're not going to pay interest on it, right? But let's say if it's a water bill, because we see some people come in with $50,000 water bills, believe it or not. But you have to pay.
Why?
Yeah. Because people haven't paid their water bill in years, or like their parents own the house, for example. Mom and dad died, and then now they're sitting there in the house like, I never dealt with the finances before. So it accumulates, and then what happens is, they have to pay it back in a plan, because if it gets sold, that's the first thing, it's going to get paid off. But you have to pay interest on that, and I think that's 9% or something.
Yeah, but it changes.
Yeah.
And the credit cards are the same thing. You're just gonna pay them back at 0% interest, right? Right now, you're making minimum payments or whatever, but they're still charging you like 20-25% whatever you owe on a credit card. The filing will, even if it's a repayment plan, it'll stop the collection of interest, and you can pay back whatever you owe at that moment, but no more interest is gonna accumulate.
But the thing is, so I have a lot of debt. And I've done a lot of different things in trying to figure out my debt, and basically, long story short, I've ruined every relationship with every bank but Chase.
Which is usually the first one you ruin it with, right?
Huh?
Which is usually the first one you ruin it with, so that's impressive.
Chase, they're all pretty bad.
When things started falling through, Chase was the one that I had my business account was, and I didn't want to I wanted to basically keep that one, not let my personal debt mess with where my business account is at. But eventually I had to close those credit cards too, but I was able to, through Chase, get on a 0 interest payment plan to close it out. So without even bankruptcy, you can just act your, if I would have known this, right, when I first got into a amount of debt in which I can't repay it, I would have just closed all my accounts, got them all on 0 interest. Because the payments are relatively small compared to the payments I was making with interest.
I mean, it's all like individually, like your personal circumstances. For example, if you don't own a lot of property or something like that, the credit card might be willing to do it. A lot of times when we have clients, credit cards might actually even file a judgment lawsuit against you.
Yep.
And like try to get into your wages, if you have wages, or if you have a house, maybe even like put some kind of a lien on the house. And then it's gonna mess up if you're trying to sell the house, or if you have a lot of assets, a credit card might try to go after you and put something in. So, but everyone's like situation is different. Like if something like that works, and we don't tell everyone, oh, you should file bankruptcy immediately. It's like whatever your personal circumstances are, we can advise you and like guide you and talk to you about what happens.
And then also just like to piggyback on that, right? It's all individual, but like. A lot of times, at least in our organizations, because we do like basic chapter 7s for people and then I do chapter 13s. We look at like their debt level, right? So if you have $5,000 in credit card debt,
Yeah.
we say, why would you file a bankruptcy? Because that's another thing. A chapter 7, you can only file once every 8 years. So it's not a magic bullet every other year. But so essentially, like, we look at their debt level. So someone comes in and they say, hey, I have $50,000 in credit card debt, and they have no job or they have very little income, then it's not like they can go back to the credit card company and say, hey, I'll pay you this much a month, because they just don't have it to pay, right? And those are a lot of people we deal with for chapter 7s. But obviously chapter 13, they're going to repayment plan. You have to have money.
Yeah.
And we have to do all, and the good thing about it in a way is it's straightforward in a sense that a lot of times we do the numbers ahead of time. And like I'll do numbers with people and I'll tell them, I'll say, hey, you want to do a chapter 13 bankruptcy? You don't have enough income. You need to get some contribution income from people in your home. You need to go and, knock on your tenant's door and try to get paid from them. You need more income, because at the end of the day, the trustees can sniff this stuff out, especially chapter 13 trustees. They can see which cases are BS, and they'll sniff it out and they'll say, look, this person doesn't have enough income. They'll try to get you out of it quick, because it just adds more work on their plate.